Welcome to PaddyCast. On this episode, we have the man, the legend, ex-Celtic and Welsh international, Big John Hartson. How are you, John?
I'm very well, Paddy. Thank you. It's great to come on, mate, and have a little chat with you tonight.
Thanks for coming on, mate. So I want to speak to you about your sporting journey. So, from a young age, what got you into football?
Well, my dad used to play. At a decent level. He never quite made it as a professional, but he played a lot of senior Welsh League football, which is quite competitive. Teams like Aberystwyth, teams like Llanelli, Carnarvon, Port Talbot, Carmarthen, Bridgend, these type of teams, which is like semi-pro, if you like. In them days, going back now as well, he used to get some money to play, and obviously, I'm from a council estate like a lot of us, and that money used to come in handy. I was one of four kids, so my dad used to enjoy playing semi-professional. So I think that's where, Paddy, I probably got the gene was from my dad. So getting into football at a very early age was something that probably became second nature to me.
It's strange because I was going to ask you why football, but obviously your father played it because obviously Welsh, their national sport is rugby.
Yes.
Have a go with that.
Well, that's right, because I remember my school, the school that I went to, was a Welsh-speaking school, because I'm a Welsh fluent speaker as well, because of the upbringing that I had. My dad didn't speak Welsh. My mum, it was my mother's family, her side. And they didn't have a football team. They only had a rugby team, the school that I went to. So I had to play my football outside of school hours, because the headmaster and the sports teacher and everything else there, they were all rugby. Generally rugby was the number one sport. The government, the country wanted to produce some great rugby players, which they did, of course.
Yeah.
Some of the best rugby players ever lived, the likes of Gareth Edwards and Paddy John, Phil Bennett, these type of guys. They were fantastic rugby players. Well, produced a couple of decent footballers as well, mind you. But that was where it was. And obviously my school that I went to, it didn't have a football team. It was all rugby. But I just played my football outside of school.
So tell me, you played obviously amateur league in Wales, and you progressed the professional. You made the top teams in England. Where I think you were a record transfer fee signing, the highest transfer signing player.
Well, I went to Luton from school to become an apprentice. I got offered an apprenticeship, like a scholarship, if you like, when I was about 14, 15. I was going back and forth to Luton in school holidays. Luton Town Football Club was right up in Bedfordshire, which was about 250, 300 miles away from Swansea. But every school holiday, I'd go up with some senior players that were from Wales, from Merthyr Tydfil, and the Rhondda Valleys, players like Mark Pembridge and Kerry Hughes. These other guys, they were 3 or 4 years older than me, and my dad would drop me off at the train station, and I'd meet them in Cardiff, and then they'd take me up to Luton for trials during the school holidays. And I progressed that way, and then round about 15 years of age, they offered me an apprenticeship, like a scholarship, a 2-year contract, like a YTS scheme, if you like, on £29.50 a week, which meant I didn't have to concentrate too much in school, because I knew where I was going. As soon as I left school, I was on my way to Luton to obviously, I had this opportunity to try and make something of my life, and it was a brilliant opportunity, although I had to leave home. It's difficult to leave home at a young age, leaving that really nice sort of tight-knit community. I had 2 sisters, an older brother, James, And it wasn't easy. It's never easy for young kids to leave home. But I was very determined as a young boy, and football was my dream. Football was all I knew. I was obsessed with the game. And I went to Luton, almost directly from leaving school, went up there and started my apprenticeship.
Yeah. And obviously, after the Luton and a few other teams you're playing for, so how did you find like playing for Luton and then going to playing for the likes of like West Ham or Arsenal and that? What was the difference in playing?
Well, Luton was in the first division at the time, but Arsenal, of course, George Graham it was. You alluded to it earlier on there. I went off track a little bit, but George Graham it was that took me from Luton to Arsenal. I played about 30, 40 times for Luton. I did quite well. I was only 18, 19 years of age. I got into the first team. I progressed really well through the youth teams. And then it was George Graham who signed me for record money. As you say, I was Britain's most expensive teenager, 2.5 million at 19 years of age. And I moved to Arsenal. And obviously going to Arsenal so young was a brilliant moment for me. There was so many superstars, so many great players there, the likes of, the England back four, if you like, the England captain, Tony Adams, great players like Ian Wright, Dennis Bergkamp, Paul Merson, all these players. And I'm 19 years of age, and I find myself at Arsenal, which was incredible, really. So it was all happening really, really quickly. And being so young, I think when you're young, Paddy, I don't know about you and your game and your profession, you have no fear. You have plenty of balls, if you like. You're not worried too much about things. It's when you get a bit older. When I got to 29, 30, I think then you start having doubts. Can I still do it? Have I still got it? Have I got the hunger? Have I got the physique? Have I got the prowess for it anymore? But at 19, I was pretty much fearless. So I was itching to go. I couldn't wait to get into that Arsenal dressing room and show them that, I want to be in your first team.
Yeah, I suppose when you're young, you have that kind of swagger, and then as you get older, you get a bit wiser.
Absolutely.
A confidence in the team. So when you were playing for Arsenal, who was the team you were playing for before you moved to Celtic?
I was playing for Coventry before I moved. I had 3 or 4 good moves. I went from Arsenal to West Ham. Again, that was for record money.
Yeah.
2.2 million. West Ham had never spent that on a player during their history. Then I had a big move to Wimbledon for 7.5 million. That was their record. They never spent that. So I'm 23, 24 years of age, and I've broken 3 London club transfer records during this particular. I'd only been away from home for 5 or 6 years. So as I said, it was all happening to me pretty quickly. I failed a few medicals as well along the way with my knee. I had a little operation on my knee, and it obviously wasn't little. It must have been something that showed up, when the medicals came around, because I failed a big medical at Spurs, Charlton, Coventry first time round, and I also failed a medical at Rangers. I was signing for Glasgow Rangers at one stage.
No way.
I did.
No way, John, come on.
Believe it or not, I was, but I failed the medical because, with all due respect, I didn't have any allegiances at the time, because I was living in Wales and everything else, and I knew how big the 2 clubs were. But obviously now my allegiances are firmly with, of course, some wonderful days there, But before I arrived at Celtic, I was at Coventry with Gordon Strachan.
Yeah.
Gordon was the manager, and interestingly enough, Gordon actually played a huge role in me going to Celtic, because I could have gone to 1 or 2 other clubs. But Martin O'Neill, I think he paid £6 million and for my signature from Coventry, and Gordon was very influential in me going up to Glasgow. And in the end, I wanted to embrace another culture, the Scottish people moving up to Glasgow, a really happening, vibrant sort of city. I'd had 1 or 2 friends in Scotland over the years, and so I wanted to to really go up and not only play for Celtic, but to have the opportunity to move away from London, where I'd spent 10 years. I was 26 years of age. I was pretty much in my prime as a footballer. They say sort of 26 to 29, 30, that's your prime years.
Yeah.
So I was ready to go. And I signed for Celtic under Martin O'Neill, and it was a fantastic 5 years, Paddy. Probably the happiest I've been in my life and in my football career.
John, I want to know, playing for Celtic against Rangers, how does it feel on match day?
Well, it's an unbelievable game. It's a really, ferocious atmosphere from both sides of the divide. You're reminded of it everywhere you go that week. You're dropping your kids off at the school gates, and the parents are sort of shouting out their cars, what this game means to the supporters.
Yeah.
Come on, we got to do it this week. You're stopping in the petrol garage for a little bit of petrol, and then hanging out of their windows. One or two are giving you a bit of a boost, and another car will come down, 2 or 3 cars later, and they're calling you a legend. It's all happening. But after the first few sort of Celtic Rangers games, I pretty much got used to it. I think I played in 20-something derbies while I was there. I managed to get 9 goals against Rangers, a couple of winning goals as well, a couple of winning goals like 1-0, 2-1. And I think when you do that, Paddy, I think you really sort of endear yourself to the crowd. I think they take to you, especially if you can score against their biggest rivals.
Yeah.
I had the keys to one half of the city anyway, the green and white half, for a few months once you do that. But it was a wonderful, wonderful club, Celtic, massively supported around the world, and it was a joy. It was a joy to play under Martin O'Neill. Played in a wonderful team, Henrik Larsson, Sutton. I could go on.
Yeah.
Lenny, Tomo, Petrov, Blam, but we had a brilliant team, and it was just a shame we couldn't win that. That UEFA Cup final in 2003, I think it was. Porto, yeah, we lost to Jose Mourinho's Porto. But there we go.
That was actually the second European final. You were in the European Super Cup final, was it?
Yeah, I played in 3. I played in 2 before I got to Celtic. I played in the Super Cup final for Arsenal against AC Milan, and I also played in the Cup Winners' Cup final in Paris against Real Zaragoza. So although I missed the UEFA Cup final with a back injury, I'd already previously played in 2 finals, so it didn't. It hurt me. I was very disappointed because I was playing well that year as well, but I had the knowledge of playing in 2 other finals, if you like, at Arsenal, but nothing would have made up for missing that UEFA Cup final. As I said, it was a hell of a blow for me personally, and of course, the team got beat, which was a shame.
So tell me, you've played under some great managers. Who would you say be the best manager you've played under?
Well, I wouldn't like to do any of them a disservice, really, because I've played under so many. I don't know what it's like in your game in boxing, whether you have the same coach from an early age all the way through. I know some people, they get to a certain level, like Tyson Fury changed his trainer, didn't he, for his last fight against Wilder. So for me, a lot of managers, David Pleat at Luton, I was 19, gave me my debut. He gave me my first start as a senior player. So that is something I'll always be very grateful for. George Graham signed me at Arsenal. I worked with Arsene Wenger, the likes of Strachan, Martin O'Neill, Harry Redknapp, Mark Hughes for Wales. So I played under some tremendous men and managers. But I'd have to say, I think the one I have a lot of admiration for taking that chance on me, if you like. It was a calculated gamble, because I had a habit of scoring goals all my career. Every club I went to, I scored goals. So Martin really would have known if he got me right, got me in the team. I'm sure he was confident I'd score goals. But having previously, failed 4 medicals, Martin took that little bit of a gamble, and it was one that paid off, thank God. So if I had to sort of pinpoint one manager, I would have to say it would be Martin. And that's one of the main reasons, because he took that chance on me.
Fair enough. Tell me this, you're a company's player yourself, but who would you say would be the best domestic player that you've played with, or who you think's the best player domestically for the last 20 years?
Who are the best players I've played with?
Yeah, domestically, yeah.
Well, I'm not going to, I know we've only got a certain amount of time, but I'm not going to run all through them. Again, I played with some wonder players. I was very lucky during my career. The likes of Giggs, the likes of Keane, the likes of Rush, Larson, Bergkamp, Mercer, they played with some tremendous players. I can't really, Henrik Larsson was just an unbelievable player. He really, really was. There was nothing he couldn't do. And it's difficult for me, obviously, having played at Arsenal and trained and played with Bergkamp, another unbelievable talent, Dennis Bergkamp. So I always say, if I'm in Glasgow and I'm doing a Q&A, I'll say Henrik. If I'm anywhere else in the country, I'll say Dennis Bergkamp. But very difficult to split them. They were two unbelievable talents, and both became good strike partners of mine as well. Played a few games with Dennis, not as many as I played with Henrik up at Celtic, but
two class acts.
Two special players, mate.
Two class acts. So here, tell me this: what do you think about the Scottish and English leagues at the minute? No, regarding the coronavirus, do you think they should be paid out, or sorry, not paid out? Actually, I think Liverpool and Celtic should be declared the winners.
Well, personally, I think it's if the leagues were to be played out. I think both Liverpool and Celtic would end up going on and winning the title. But with all the rules and the SPFL rules and the maybe the decision might be taken out of Celtic and Liverpool's hands in terms of they might null and void the season. Then you've got other clubs then, like maybe Hearts, who are at the bottom of the league in Scotland.
Yeah.
They may feel, well, we shouldn't be relegated. So they'll feel if they played the games, they could play it out and they might be able to get safe. So by calling the league sort of no games, they will say, well, it's unfair to say that Celtic are champions and to send us down because we're at the bottom of the league. So it's all getting a bit messy. There's a big meeting on Monday between all the football clubs in Scotland. I think it's the representation of the, of what's going to happen next. The governing bodies will decide. But I think it's paramount. Obviously, we mentioned the coronavirus and the pandemic, that safety, that takes priority. And of course, I'd love to see the games played out. It'd be a travesty if Liverpool don't get the title. They're 25 points clear. They are never in a cat and else chance going to get caught.
No.
But you have to adhere. If it's null and void, it's null and void. If they can't get the games physically on the road and get them underway, there's not a lot we can do about it, and we might have that case that we all have to deal with. But hopefully, from a personal point of view, I hope they play the games out and they find the time to do it.
100%, it'd be brilliant.
Yeah.
You mentioned Hearts there. It would be bad for them, if they were to go down. Obviously, only 2 points behind. But just the way it is.
It is. That would be the way it is. But as I said, hopefully they'll get an opportunity to climb away from the bottom of the table, and Celtic will get the opportunity to lift, their 9th league title in a row. And of course, they're going for that unprecedented 10, which would be a record, of course, which would be history.
Yeah.
Which would be, an unbelievable achievement. Let's get 9 in the bag first. 13 points clear. And Rangers have a game in hand, but I don't think, I think we would see it out, and I'm very, very confident that Salah would win the league if the games got underway.
Yeah. Tell me, so want to move on. the peak and the pit of your career. So what would you say would be the peak? What would you say would be the pit of your long career?
I'll go peak first. I think the peak for me always was representing my country. I'm a very proud Welshman. We spoke before I came on air. I can speak Welsh. You got your brother-in-law, I think you said, speaks Welsh. A good mate. Did you say your brother-in-law, Paddy? Or
Yeah, brother-in-law.
Yeah. So I'm a fluent Welsh speaker. I'm very patriotic about where I come from, although I live in Edinburgh now. So representing my country, was something that I wanted. A couple of things when I had some dreams as a young boy. I wanted to become a professional footballer. I wanted to play as high as I could in terms of the level that I played at, the Premier League and the Scottish Premiership. And the other thing I wanted to do was represent my country. And I managed to do it over 50 times, senior level. And probably every time I put that red shirt on, with number 9 on my back, I thought about Mark Hughes and Ian Rush and Saunders and John Charles and these great players who've had that shirt on before me. And they were all heroes of mine. I had pictures of Rush and Hughes on my bedroom wall. They were iconic figures when I was growing up,
Yeah.
So I've gone on and represented Wales and to do what some of my heroes achieved. Even if I just had the one cap, it would have been enough. But to go on and win over 50 and get my golden cap was something special. So that was my peak. Although I had quite a few really good days at Celtic and Arsenal and everywhere else, probably representing my country was, the highlight. I think the low times was I gambled when I played. I had an awful, I was earning good money. And I had an addiction probably for a long time, even before I knew it. And I'm 9 years clean now. I've not had a bet for 9 years. I go to Gamblers Anonymous twice a week to continue with my recovery. And I'm in the best place I've ever been in terms of focusing. And gambling can control your life. It can control everything. And addiction can control your personality and everything, but I'm very calm and I'm focused these days, mainly because I don't gamble. So that was probably a low point, that it started at a very young age and it continued right the way through until I got to 30, until I got to 35, 36 years of age. And then I just stopped and I went to GA. And I got a lot of help from the fellowship and the other members of the GA group. And as I said, I managed to stay clean for just under 9 years now. My life's never been more clearer.
Well, like I just say about the gambling now, I had a bit of a problem myself, mostly through online gambling. And obviously, while I was competing, it was just about yourself, the downtime you have, filling that gap of boredom. You go on your phone and gamble online, so gambling in sports, I think it's massive because there's so much downtime for people. You know what I mean?
Paddy, I'm an ambassador now for Ladbrokes. I go around to different football clubs, youth teams and workplaces, and I do talks and I remind people that I don't tell them to stop gambling because they won't listen to me anyway.
Yeah.
But all I can do is offer my experience, remind them of some of the pitfalls and the danger signs, and it makes an impact. It makes an impact. Somebody like myself, who's been a professional footballer, somebody who's had it all, lost it all, and got it back again, you know. So for me, that's very important. I think education is important for the younger ones as well. Going through sort of scholarships and youth teams and this, because they try and copy the older ones. You see that they look up to the players, and if the first team player's gambling or somebody's gambling within that group, they can easily be sucked in and dragged in, and and everything else. So education is very important, and that's why Ladbrokes have appointed me now as part of their sort of like an ambassador role to go around and it's called RG, the RG sort of education program, where it's called Responsible Gambling for RG, and I do lots of talks, and it makes a big impact when I get up there in front of 45, 50 young footballers or rugby players, and I talk about my experiences, my lows, my highs, how I felt with the gambling, how it cost me this and it cost me that. And it takes over every single moment of your life, every second of your life as an addict. You're involved with this addiction. It controls your every single thought process of every single day. People have no idea how strong an addiction is. And as you just said, you're absolutely right. In sport, it's absolutely rife. And in general, in public, basically just gambling in society is a major problem for lots of people. And the best thing, as I said, I ever did, it was a massive low in my life because I was in this bubble, I was in this addiction. And I'm glad that I was able to show enough strength to get out of it and to stay clean the amount of time that I have.
Well, obviously, it was massive low, but I think it's a great achievement. You're able to come through it and help others. Tell me this: you've been obviously playing up and down the country, Scotland, England. How did you find playing and training and mixing it with your family life? What was that like? If you had to travel away and train in different
well, it was my job, Paddy. It was my job, and I was paid quite well to do it.
Yeah.
The one thing I'd say about football is my family came everywhere with me.
Yeah.
We found a house, we moved, and you might be there for 2 years, and then you've got to uproot again. Like I went from London to the Midlands, and then from the Midlands to Glasgow, from Glasgow back to the Midlands, and then back to Wales.
Yeah.
So I think as a family, they all came with me. So it was a little bit of uprooting, changing schools and things like that. But listen, that's the job. That's top level sport. You've got to commit to your, excuse me, you've got to commit to your contracts. You're paid a lot of money, and they expect you to go and, settle, be comfortable within your surroundings, buy your house, not within 2 miles of the football ground, but within, a decent area of where you train and everything else, because they don't want you traveling too much anyway.
Yeah.
So for me, it was always important that my family always came with me, because it helped me play better. I think if I can go home to my family rather than go home to an apartment on my own, and I'm away from my wife and my kids, and all I'm doing is FaceTiming and phoning, it's nowhere near as good as having them all within the boundaries of the house,
Like, see, you talk about your kids there. See, when you brought them to the matches, were you proud to play in front of them and score goals? Was it like a proud feeling?
Oh, unbelievable feeling, and I was a goal scorer, and there's nothing better than scoring a goal. Don't ask me the question, is something better than I know that's coming in a minute, but no, there is nothing better as a centre forward than scoring a goal. I think, watching the back of the net ripple and then running away to the supporters and having them all cheering and everybody's happy. It's the hardest thing to do on a football pitch.
Yeah.
That's what gets people up on their feet. A good pass or a good tackle might just get a few cheers, but everybody goes to a football match. What for?
For goals.
To see goals. It's like knockouts in boxing, isn't it?
Yeah.
I know people like to see a good old sort of rumble 12 rounds and all that, but they go home talking about the big knockouts at the end of the day, and it's the same as with football. They go home and they say to each other, wow, what about that goal? They don't quite say, oh, what a pass or what a tackle. They basically say, so I was the man that was scoring goals, and there's no better feeling. There's no better feeling than scoring a goal.
So tell me, John, what's next? Like, what are you doing with yourself at the minute?
Well, at the minute, I've got plenty of work on before this sort of outbreak, really, of COVID-19.
Yeah.
I was doing loads of speaking events, corporate dinners and things like that. I do lots of events on that side of things. I've just changed my agency now, Concilium Sports Group in Edinburgh. So I've got big plans for next year, working on the television with, different companies and everything else.
Yeah.
So I'm excited about the future. I'm 45 years of age. I'm no spring chicken anymore. I've got 5 beautiful kids. Family is really, really important to me. And as long as my children are healthy and, they've got nice schools to go to and they're settling in really nice. Having come through the cancer, Paddy, 10 years ago, it's for me, it's like I enjoy as much as I can now, and I appreciate a lot of things maybe before I had the cancer that I didn't appreciate. I didn't appreciate, my health and being free of any issues and any problems. Your health is everything, and you want to get out of bed in the morning and you want to jump out of bed and and be fit and be strong. And for a while, I wasn't that person when I was going through my battle.
Yeah.
But through the grace of God, I managed to come through that. So I don't really think an awful lot about what's next. I've got a little plan of what I'm going to do. Yes, I'm looking forward to certain things. But whereas 10 years ago, I was like, I was regimented. Everything has to be, I got to do this, I got to do that. And basically now, I'm like, well, I've beaten cancer. I'm pretty free-spirited now in my mind. It's whatever happens, happens.
Yeah.
Whatever's to be is to. Everything happens for a reason. I wasn't meant to.
Yeah, every day.
Cancer wasn't meant to take me. Otherwise, it would have done. It's taken many bigger and better and stronger men than me in its time. More braver, more positive. So I feel very blessed. I feel really lucky. So I just wish the best of health for my family and my loved ones and my close friends, and I'll just go with the flow then from there.
See, it's great that you're giving back. You're giving back through the likes of giving talks on gambling awareness, but you have the John Hartson Foundation.
Go on. Sorry, Paddy.
Oh no, just saying. You have the John Hartson Foundation, which is also great. How did that come about? And obviously, is it going well for you at the minute?
It's going brilliant. This time last year, we went over £1 million that we've raised for the John Hartson Foundation through a lot of people's help and support. I decided to set up a charity, a foundation, when I left hospital, because I thought, well, I wanted, as you just said there, to give something back. But how do you thank the NHS and the staff and my oncologist, who was a personal doctor to me? He organised all my chemotherapy. He chose everything, blood transfusions when I was in hospital, put me in a private room. Not that I wanted to be in a private room, but there was a lot of press sort of peeking through the windows, trying to get shots. And he didn't want me out on the floor having my chemo with another 20 people. So he just gave me that little bit of extra care and attention. And how do you thank these guys? It's impossible. They saved my life. Yeah. So, I think with a lot of friends' advice and my family, and, they said, well, why didn't you set up a little foundation, a little charity where, we could raise a bit of money, do a few events and see how it goes. And it's just took off. Every event that we put on, we sell out. It's overwhelming the amount of support that we get. And we went over £1 million that we've raised last year. And I feel very proud of that. It's a cancer charity, so that we generally give donations. Everything we raise, we give away. And it's for cancer in general, cancer sufferers, hospices, places like that, So I'm very, very proud. That makes me prouder, Paddy, than scoring any goal in any league, in any division, having to raise all that money and help so many people out, and potentially save lives.
A big shout out to everyone who's donating the money for you as well. And if anyone doesn't know the John Hartson Foundation motto, grab your balls.
That's the one. literally grab life by the balls.
Yeah.
You know, grab life, and that's our logo. And again, you know, it's very appropriate. Grab life by the balls. Your testicles are down there. It was my testicle I got cancer on, and it spread. So you know, thank the Lord, I'm back in good form now.
Okay. So John, we're going to do a quick fire round.
Okay,
But before we do the quick fire round, I just want to tell you something.
go on.
I have, and I want to know if this is true or not, because Carl Frampton is a Rangers man, and I was his best man at his wedding, and a gift he got me a signed John Hartson Celtic top.
Brilliant. Yeah, I got him too. Carl. When I first met Carl, I think it was at the Ricky Hatton comeback fight.
Yeah.
I think in Manchester, because Gordon Ramsay was there, another Rangers man. There's Rangers everywhere. Couldn't believe it. But I met Carl, and he made a bit of a fuss of me, and he said, "You've been through the mill," he said to me, and he said, "I'm so glad now you're all right."
Yeah.
Paddy Wigan was there as well, and straight away we hit it off with a little 10-minute chat, and he was a gentleman. He really was. A couple of weeks later, he's on the ones. I thought, oh no, I can't believe I've given my. He said to me, "Would you mind, John?" He said, "Could you do me a big favour? Could you send me over 2 Celtic tops?" He said, "I've got a couple of friends. I really need to give them a Celtic top." And I said, we follow each other on Twitter, and it was a direct message. And I says, "Carl, anything for you?" I said, "I'll do anything for you."
Well, John, there you go. Now you know he didn't burn it. I have it.
Yeah.
Well, here.
No, that was what it was. He'd asked for the 2 shirts, and I put it was for you. So that's not a problem. I like Carl. He's a great lad.
Good fella.
Yeah.
So here, the question. Sorry. If you could choose a different sport, what would it be?
Well, do you know what? Sport has been my life. It could have been anything. It really could have. Golf, rugby, a little bit of boxing, but I'm not sure about the boxing at a top level. I had 4 or 5 fights, 3 2-minute rounds. My dad sent me down the gym just to do the training. The training was so hard, the skipping and everything as a 10, 11-year-old. But you've got to be a certain person, I think, to be a boxer. I think it's in you. You've got to have that, incredible sort of mental sort of attitude, and of course it takes a lot of toughness as well. Yeah. So I don't know, Paddy, really what other sports. I'm into all sports, and it probably would have been something like rugby.
Yeah.
Rugby, because I was okay at rugby, but I was better at football.
Yeah.
So that's why I chose football. But I do love the rugby, as you say. I go to all the internationals. Been over to to Croke Park a few times for Ireland, Wales, and I've been up to Murrayfield. Now I live in Scotland, Murrayfield, Wales, and obviously the Principalities. Yeah, I love the Six Nations and everything else. So I'm a big rugby man. So it probably would have been rugby. My size as well. I'd have been a good number 7.
True. Who would you say would be your greatest rival?
I'd have to say Rangers, wouldn't I? I'd have to say Rangers because, getting one up over your big rivals in Glasgow is an unbelievable feeling, and it's a feeling of, elation really, because it's not just the players, and the fans that are at the stadium. It's the people like you. It's the people in Belfast. The green and white half, if you like. The people in Canada, North America, all the expats around the world, Celtic supporters, New York, and so that feeling when you win, even the kit man, the lady who does the kit, everybody feels it when you win against Rangers, because and vice versa, when you lose one, you don't want to get up.
That's true.
You don't want to take your head off the pillow, and you don't want to see people. You feel as if you let people down and everything. So I would have to say, in my 5 years, up in Glasgow, playing in the derbies, winning the games were brilliant, and obviously losing them were a terrible feeling. So I would have to say Rangers. But when I was at Arsenal, I played against Spurs a few times. When I
North
was
Derby.
at West Ham, Spurs again, I played Luton, Luton, Watford, one or two others. England, Wales, I played Wales, England, that's another big one. So, but I'd have to say, it goes without saying, I think the old firm derbies don't come bigger than that.
Do you have, or did you have a pre-match superstition?
I didn't. I looked at the questions the other day, so people are going to think I'm doing this off the cuff, but I'm not. They're pre-prepared. But I didn't, to be honest. I just got myself ready. I got myself focused. I knew what I had to do. I know I probably had to score a few goals to stay in the team because it was so competitive. The other players, we had some great players. Chris Sutton as well, obviously. Chris and myself and Henrik and one or two other strikers. So I didn't have any superstitions, if you like. I just got myself ready, focused in on what I had to do. I had to win my headers. I had to be a focal point. I had to be strong, get hold of the ball, allow the team to come up the pitch, please the manager, be a good teammate, to my team, be a reliable teammate on the pitch. Somebody like Lenny could play the ball into me and I'd get a hold of it so he could join in and things like that. So I knew I had to play well. When you're at the highest level, you're playing with top players and there's no room for making errors and being off, and not keeping the ball and, missing chances. There's no errors. You can't do that. You find yourself out of the top division if you do that. So I'd have to get myself ready. But generally, it all pretty much came within my focus, really. I didn't feel like I needed any superstitions or, things like this. I wasn't very superstitious. So no, I didn't really have anything that I needed to get up for in a game. I just, mentally, I was ready.
Do you have a favorite quote or a favorite saying?
Well, I think one good saying, I heard it the other day somewhere, and it was like, it can take you almost a lifetime to build up a reputation, and it can take you 10 seconds to put a stain on that.
Yeah.
Or to sort of, it can take you a lifetime. It can take you a career to build up a reputation for yourself. And it can almost take 10 seconds to ruin it, with a quote, with an action, with a slip of the tongue, anything. So I think with a lot of media work that I've done sort of 10 years in the media now for different companies, BT, BBC, the Welsh language, over in sport, over in Dublin and everything else. It can almost, you're always sort of, when you're in that studio, because you can slip up.
Yeah.
You say something that all of a sudden goes viral, and then the next thing you're all over the papers, you're splashed everywhere, because the media, it's everywhere. It's newspapers, it's radio, it's television, it's newspapers, everywhere, the media. And I had an experience of that when I had that training ground incident with a teammate, Al Berkovich at West Ham, where, what I did wasn't very nice. I'm pretty embarrassed by that.
But in fairness, John, to yourself, he headbutted your foot.
Well, he hit me first, and yourself, if somebody,
of course,
what did your dad say? You got to hit them back, but
100%.
No, it was the wrong reaction. Thanks, though, Paddy. I know you got my back there, but it was the wrong reaction, and I genuinely do regret that. I shouldn't have reacted the way that I did, and I've apologised. I took it on, I took every bit of responsibility for it, fined, suspended, and I held my hands up, like sometimes you've got to do, and sometimes people don't. Go all the way around the boxes and look for reasons and excuses. No, I did it. It was wrong. I got fined. I held my hand up. So that's one of the things that I think is a brilliant quote, and it's a lesson for anybody that thinks they made it, that thinks, they're king of the walk, everything's going great, but all of a sudden you do something or you get involved in something, and it's like all that reputation is out of the window in 4 seconds. So I always think you have to be wary of that, and that's a big one for me.
Who is your favourite sports person, past or present?
Who's my favourite sports person?
Yeah.
I haven't written that one down.
Well, John, I'm retired, so it can't be me.
No, as I said, I like golf. I've got huge respect for boxers, for what they do, how they train, and they get into that ring, and all of a sudden, everything is on the line. They train ferociously hard. I love my boxing. I got to know a few of the lads down in Wales. Enzo Macaronelli was a neighbour of mine. Joe Kazagi, been in Joe's company a few times. And even before that, the likes of Colin Jones, and a friend of Colin's. Colin does a lot of work with the kids in his area in Swansea. Colin Jones, Fort Don Curry, your boxing, yeah. He's very well respected as a fighter in Wales, a boxer. So, probably somebody like Sugar Ray Leonard, who was just an incredible fighter. Had some brilliant, fights with Hagler and everything else. And did he fight Roberto Duran as well? Yeah. Was that the same weight? Yeah. And Sugar Ray Leonard for me was just incredible, so quick, and he moves around the ring. But there's been many, even now I love watching the current Tyson Fury. Will he fight Anthony Joshua next?
Hopefully.
Will Dillian White get in the mix somewhere? We just don't know, do we? I think it's whoever can pay the agents the most money, I think, will maybe get the deal. But, again, Tiger Woods, love my golf. Tiger Woods, been through the mill, had to come back from nothing, really. Went back to 1,000 in the world, and now he's back in the top 10. I think golf lovers and people like golf would love to enjoy his comeback.
What about Ireland's own Shane Lowry? We had him on the show. We had him on the PaddyCast as well.
And I watched him at Royal Portrush last year winning the Open. I was absolutely delighted for Shane. I was watching him singing The Fields of Athenry and enjoying his little pint of Guinness at the end of it. I bet he had more than one. But, again, great respect for Shane winning that, because that was his ultimate dream, to win the Open. I think it's every sort of British golfer's dream. Westwood hasn't won it yet. One or two great players haven't won it yet.
Unreal, fair.
So for Shane to have won the Open, it was unbelievable for him and his family. All the work that he put in over the years,
Yeah. Well, listen, thank you very much for being on the podcast, John. And thank you for being so honest and speaking about football so pleasantly. You can see, from what you're talking about, your career meant so much to you, and you'll always be a true Celt.
Brilliant, Paddy. Listen, you're a gentleman. Anytime you want anything else, even another shirt, mate, I'll gladly send you another one over.
100%, John. Listen, have a good day. Thanks very much.
All the best. Take care, mate.
Bob Hoyle.
Bye-bye. Diolch yn fawr. Hwyl, hwyl. Bob Hoyle.